I feel as much attached to these guys as the classes back at NIU that I had that went all the way through. So the same feelings. Just really, my biggest regret is that I just don't have more time with these seniors.
Temple caps off Rod Carey's first season with a win on Senior Day.
And now the Owls wait to find out where they'll be bowling and who they'll be bowling against. Inside the Nest is live and it starts right now. Hello and welcome. He is Dan Wilson and I am Brooklyn Vaughn. This is our final edition of Inside the Nest for the 2019 season, and we're going out with a bang.
Over the next 30 minutes, our year in review and, of course, our final bowl outlook. But we begin today with highlights, as we always do. The Owls' final regular season came at home against UConn on Saturday. Owls and Huskies playing each other at the Link over the holiday weekend. First quarter action, UConn quarterback Jack Zergiotis finds receiver Ardell Brown for his second touchdown of the season, and UConn is out to an early 7-0 lead. UConn drives back down the field following an Owls 3-and-out, and backup quarterback Steven Krajewski, he runs it in from 2 yards out, and the 2-9 Huskies are up 14-0 midway through the first. Ensuing Owls possession, and Anthony Russo airs it out to Brandon Mack, and thanks to some poor UConn tackling, he is gone. 63 yards to the house. The Owls are back within 7. Second quarter now. After a UConn field goal to make it 17-7, it's Todd Centeio in the red zone with a chance to score before the half. Centeio rolls out, connects with Jaden Blue. 17-14, still in favor of the Huskies. The Owls went into halftime down 3. However, the third quarter was all Temple. Russo hits Brandon Mack, this time for a 41-yard touchdown. The 7th of the season, and the Owls have their first lead, 21-17. A little over 4 minutes later, Owls back in the red zone yet again, and on second and goal from the 8, it's Anthony Russo showing off the legs. His second touchdown of the season. Owls go up 11, 28-17. Still in the third, and the give goes to Ray Davis, and he will not be stopped. 55 yards to the end zone, his 7th touchdown of the year. Owls in full control, 35-17. Owls offense has now put up 35 points, and the defense is sitting there. They want to get in on the fun as well. Sam Franklin jumping the route here. He's got himself a pick 6, 42-17 Owls. UConn back with the ball again. They can't wait to get out of Philly at this point, and the entire pocket collapses. And Zergiotis is sacked for the 4th time in the game. And it's just for stat padding at this point. Give goes to Tavon Ruley, the first touchdown of his career from 6 yards out, and this one is a wrap. 49-17 Owls over UConn. For the Huskies, they finished their final year in the AAC winless in conference and 2-10 overall. And for the Owls, they walk off the field at the Link for the final time in 2019 with a win to improve to 8-4 and route to their 6th consecutive bowl-eligible season.
Is that with seniors on senior night, you get one of two things. You get their absolute best game or their absolute worst. And who has to carry the load on this day is underclassmen, because they're not going through that emotional stuff. It's a normal game for them. So I thought that, Russo and Toddy and the offense, that those guys kind of really helped calm us down, helped keep us in the game.
All those guys have been here since I got here, so those are some of my best friends, not just here while I'm at Temple, but for life. And the bonds that I've built with those guys, on and off the field are so special.
Coming in with these guys, we wanted to set out to try to be one of the best classes coming in. Unfortunately, we had a lot of coaches changing. A lot of things wasn't stable, but the way these guys always responded is something I'm always going to remember for life. They helped me grow as a person, through the ups and downs. They always helped me, and they always made things a lot easier. So this is something I'll never forget. This is going to be like a memorable moment. I'm probably going to remember every play from this game.
The part about it that everyone looks at and goes, well, they're not your guys and all that stuff, and I know that Coach Rule recruited, these guys, and then Coach Collins coached these guys as well. But when you're coaching them and you're in day-to-day, I feel as much attached to these guys as the classes back at NIU that I had that went all the way through. So the same feelings. Just really, my biggest regret is that I just don't have more time with these seniors.
And Sam Franklin said it himself. It was a game that the Temple seniors will certainly remember. The Owls entered the half down 17-14 to the 2-win UConn Huskies and scored 35 unanswered in the second half to come out on top 49-17. Anthony Russo showed out for the seniors, completing 14 of 23 passes for 247 yards and 3 total touchdowns, 2 through the air and 1 on the ground. Russo connected with Brandon Mack on both of his touchdown passes, both of which went for over 40 yards. And Mack finished the game with 5 receptions and 171 yards to go along with his 2 touchdowns. Saturday was Mack's 5th game of the season with over 100 receiving yards. Freshman running back Ray Davis eclipsed the century mark for the first time since early October when the Owls took on ECU. Todd Centeo threw his sole touchdown pass of the day to Jaden Blue, which marked the 3rd time in 4 games Centeo had a touchdown through the air. And on the UConn side, the AAC's worst-ranked offense didn't look so bad on the first 2 drives when the Huskies scored twice to go up 14-0. Huskies quarterback Zach Zorgiotis hit Ardell Brown for 51 yards for UConn's first score. And on the Huskies' next drive, quarterback Steven Krajewski ran the rock in for a 2-yard score. Ardell Brown was the leading receiver for UConn on Saturday, reeling in 3 catches for 85 yards, 51 of which came on the Huskies' first touchdown. With Saturday's win, Rod Carey ended his first regular season at Temple on a high note, and now he's on the hunt for his first bowl win.
For more on this, we welcome in Inside the Nest reporter Dom Gillespie on Plasma. Hey, Dom.
Thanks, guys. I started the year talking about Rod Carey, so why not end the year talking about Rod Carey? Carey's first season at Temple started strong, ended strong, with a few road bumps in the middle.
Even through all the ups and downs these past 4 years, especially with the many coaching changes, this Temple program has been historic. Since 2015, the football team has a record of 33-19 and is bowl bound for the 4th straight season for the first time in school history.
I'm excited to be here today as I was the first day I got the job, if not probably more.
After the way this past off-season started with 3 different coaches in 17 days, the upcoming season had a ton of question marks. But Rod Carey didn't allow the Owls to take this step back, as is often expected in the first season of a program with a new head coach. The 2019 team won 8 games and is bowl bound, just like the 2018 team. Let's also throw in that Owls head coach has more wins than his 2 predecessors in Jeff Collins and Manny Diaz at their respected schools.
Rod Carey finishes his inaugural season at Temple University at 8-4, the best start for a Temple head coach career since Steve Addazio in 2011. However, starting QB Anthony Russo has something else in mind for Coach Carey.
I also want to get Coach Carey, he hasn't had a bowl win yet, so that's another thing that's going to drive us and motivate us all bowl prep.
The Owls still do not know where they will end up for their bowl game this year, but one thing is for sure, the seniors will be on the road late in December once again.
Now, I could sit up here and speculate where the Owls will play their bowl game in a few weeks, but I'll probably be wrong anyway. Looks like we'll all just have to wait until Selection Sunday.
Yeah, Dom, we'll talk about that in No Huddle. Nobody knows where we're going bowling yet, but let me ask you while I have you, Dom, where do you think Rod Carey could have improved the most this season?
For me, it's got to be his ability to rally this team on the road. We saw throughout the entire season, it was a struggle point for the entire team playing on the road. They were in some winnable games, especially that Cincinnati one that had the conference chip on the line. So moving forward in his coaching career, he's got to be able to play on the road to compete for those conference chips later down the road.
Sounds good, Dom. Thank you very much. And Rod Carey had success in his first season as Temple's head coach. With an 8-4 record, Carey had the best record in 2019 of his predecessors. Life is not so good for former Temple coach Steve Addazio, who is now on the job hunt. On Sunday, Addazio was dismissed as the head coach of Boston College after 7 seasons with the Eagles. As for some of the other recent Temple coaches, there are mixed results. You have Matt Rule, who is in his 3rd season at Baylor, where he's preparing his Bears to battle Oklahoma in Saturday's Big 12 championship game.
And who could forget these 2 guys on the right, Jeff Collins and Manny Diaz, both of whom have held the title of Temple coach in the past 365 days. Collins finished 3-9 in his first year as head coach of the Yellow Jackets, which means he will not have the opportunity to win a bowl game in his debut year this time around. As for Manny Diaz, he also went 6-6 in his first year as head coach, which is good enough to be bowl eligible. One fun hypothetical is the Military Bowl, which features an AAC team against an ACC team, which could potentially feature Diaz against the Owls. Everyone's postseason destiny will be announced this Sunday, a day after the conclusion of all of the conference championship games. And we have to take our first break, but when we come back, we'll have our season in review.
Inside the Nest will be back in 90 seconds.
I don't know. It was a sneak attack. Russo, Archie. Gosh, those are the two I caught. My heart about jumped through my throat. It was cold now. That was fun.
Just hoping that they get some stops, and they played out of this world. And again, that is the best defense in the country. I'm saying it. Everyone should be saying it. We have the best defense in the country.
When we knew who we were going against, we was like, that's not a factor at all. Not a factor at all. We have another team on the schedule that we got to take care of, and that's all it was.
But like I said, like you said, we support each other in that quarterback room. He was in there, I was cheering my butt off. When I was in there, he was cheering his butt off. So, I love TD. I think he played great tonight, and we just want to keep it rolling.
I was hoping he'd catch it. That's all it was. So, and then we got the call, and everybody was happy. So we ran it off. We ran the clock out, and we won the game. So everybody's happy.
Offense was just as bad as the defense today. Everyone wants to talk about the defense, 45, but offense was just as bad. Absolutely had some mental errors in there and some missed assignments. And when you miss an assignment versus a team that's that explosive, you get this.
It's fun out there to play with those guys. Like I said, most of those guys are my roommates and guys that I hang out with on a daily basis. So as a defense, we just fly around and have fun.
I feel as much attached to these guys as the classes back at NIU that I had that went all the way through. So the same feelings. Just really, my biggest regret is that I just don't have more time with these seniors.
Welcome back to Inside the Nest.
With only the bowl game remaining, Rod Carey's first year as Temple coach is coming to a close.
With only the bowl game remaining, a few Temple players are nearing or have already etched their name in Temple football's record book. One of those players is redshirt sophomore receiver Jaden Blue. Blue stepped away from the team for personal reasons last season, but in this year, in his first season of full action, Blue finds himself just 25 yards short of 1,000 receiving yards. Blue should get in 25 yards in Temple's bowl game for sure, and he'll be the first Owls receiver to hit that mark in a single season.
Quincy Roche also has his place in the Temple record books. The junior defensive end has 13 sacks this season, 10 of which have come in the last 4 games. A sack in Temple's bowl game would allow Roche to stand alone, as he is currently tied with former linebacker Adrian Robinson's record of 13 sacks back in 2009.
Quarterback Anthony Russo found himself in good company following Saturday's game. Check out this tweet from OwlScoop.com's Kyle Gauss. Anthony Russo has joined P.J. Walker as the only other Temple quarterback to throw for at least 2,500 yards in multiple seasons. Russo is now 4th all-time in career passing yards in Temple history with 5,296. Walker is at the top of the list with 10,668 yards.
And Russo's success was a big part of the Owls' success this season. However, he wasn't the only quarterback to receive regular playing time.
Yeah, we welcome on Inside the Nest reporter Ray Dunn to break down the performance of Russo and Todd Centeio. Hey, Ray.
Thanks, guys. It's unconventional, but it was designed to jumpstart an offense that struggled in September. The 2-quarterback approach kept Anthony Russo as the starter throughout the year, making him the first Owls gunslinger to start every game since P.J. Walker in 2016. That, however, didn't come without Todd Centeio making his case to be the starter going forward. Centeio has opened up a new realm of possibilities in play calling with his ability to run the ball. The redshirt sophomore keeps defenses off balance because there's the added threat of him taking off and running for a large chunk. As for Russo, he came into the season a bona fide starter after showing flashes of his potential a year ago. His arm remains his biggest strength. Once he gets into rhythm, he can methodically pick apart defenses. Here are two examples of the quarterbacks at their best. You just saw that pass by Centeio. He kept the defense honest, rolled out, and made a solid throw. Plays like that are very difficult to defend. And another one that's difficult to defend right here, Russo. When he gets his deep ball working, he is tough to beat. Like a waiter at an Italian restaurant, he drops that perfectly into Kenny Yeboah's breadbasket. Now let's take a look at their efficiency. There is certainly an argument to be made that it might be toddy time very soon. Over the last 4 weeks of this season, Centeio had 3.5 points per drive to Russo's 1.7. That said, sample size will have to be taken into account. Russo has played over 6 times the number of drives this season. Beyond that, there is way more tape on Russo, which makes defenses much more prepared to face him. And another factor to note, the first drive for a quarterback is usually scripted. More than likely, Centeio hasn't had to adjust as much as Russo while under center due to the number of drives per game. The sample size also applies to the yards that each have thrown for. Russo has over 10 times as many attempts as Centeio this year. However, that 6.8 yards per attempt for Russo is second worst in the conference among qualified passers. It isn't a stretch to believe that Centeio would be able to sustain a much higher number than what Russo has put up this season. In a town no stranger to quarterback controversies, we shall see what the future holds for this duo as they are expected to return to the team next season.
Thank you, Ray. And I'll just kind of follow up with this. You know, you mentioned the sample size difference between Centeio and Russo. Wouldn't expect anything, at least personally, to change in the bowl game, but they're going to have a whole offseason to look at this, and both guys are expected to return to the Owls next season. Do they continue with this approach? Is it sustainable, or do they go with one guy?
I would think that, especially in the bowl game, they have to keep rolling with this because it's just kind of the way they've been set up game play in the past couple weeks. But over the offseason, they're going to have plenty of time to really evaluate what's happened this year, what they want going forward, what they want to be as an offense. You know, Coach Carey really only had a couple months to really get this all going together to see what he had. Russo was just assumed to be the starter here. So for Centeio to have performed the way he has, they've given them a lot to think about this offseason, and the way he meshes with the team over the offseason will definitely be a huge determinant in who we see week 1 next year in Miami for the Owls.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Ray.
Well, we have to take a timeout, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we debate the Owls MVP this season, as well as possible bowl landing spots.
And when Inside the Nest returns, we are going no huddle for one final time. You do not want to miss it. Welcome back to Inside the Nest, and welcome back to one final No Huddle segment.
This time it's 4 questions, 4 minutes. Here we go. Brooklyn, first question is for you. Who was Temple's MVP this season?
You know what, Dan, it took me so long to figure out this answer. There's so many great guys who've contributed so much, but I'm going to go Jaden Blue. And of course, his journey over the past season and this season, just a world difference, and I think he's been such a great contributor to the Owls offense this year.
I'm going to go on the defensive side. I'm going Quincy Roche. We highlighted it earlier in the show. Tied to the Temple single-season sack record, very likely to break that in the bowl game. Has been a monster in these last 4 games for the Owls. I'm going with Quincy Roche.
Fair enough. Next question. Was Rod Carey's first season as a Temple head coach a success?
I'm going to say yes, absolutely. He's got him bowl eligible, 8-4. This is, by the way, tied for the best debut season for any Owls coach in history. Steve Adazio back in 2011, he went 9-4 with a bowl win, and that was back in the days of the MAC. Granted, Rod Carey inherited a bit of a better team, more of a winning culture from his previous coaches, but he went 8-4, has the potential to go 9-4 with a bowl win. Absolutely a first-year success for Rod Carey.
Dan, I'm going to agree with you. I think he had a great first year here on North Broad, and for every reason that Dom had mentioned and you had just mentioned now, I think he really is coming into something that, you know, was very unexpected in the air. No expectations really for Rod Carey, and I think he's exceeded anything so far.
The question on everyone's mind, Selection Sunday coming up this weekend. Where will Temple be going bowling?
Right, well, you know what, I'm going to preface this. No matter what I say, no matter what you say, we can't prove this, and we really are just we're guessing. This is a lucky guess, absolutely. So I'm going to say Boca Raton Bowl. Boca Raton is familiar territory for the Owls. Back in 2015, if you can remember, they took on Toledo and they fell a little short during the Matt Rule era. But I'm going to say that they could go back to Boca Raton again, either playing a MAC opponent or a Conference USA team. I don't know. I'm going Boca Raton.
Yeah, I'll go Frisco Bowl, kind of on that same level. One of the earliest bowl games that is played during bowl season, and it kind of fits. You know, the Owls went 8-4, but some of the stronger teams on their schedule they did not beat, i.e. Cincinnati, UCF. They do have that Buffalo loss. So it feels like a Frisco Bowl kind of year.
Right, now we don't have a Temple game to predict this week, but everyone still wants to know our prediction for the AAC championship game, Cincinnati at Memphis. Dan, who do you got? Remember, Memphis is favored.
Yeah, Memphis favored by 10. This is a rematch of last week. They played on the final day of the regular season. Memphis was playing to get in this game. Cincinnati still playing for home field advantage. It will be back at Memphis for the second consecutive week. I'm going to go with Memphis. You know, Memphis actually lost to Temple, as we remember. It's very possible that the Owls could hand them their only AAC loss of the entire season. The Owls played at Cincinnati more recently. They had a drive start at the 5, 2 empty red zone trips did the Owls have, and they still could have won the game with a field goal on the final drive. Was not overall impressed with Cincinnati. Their defense is good. Their offense, I think, is pretty average. I think Memphis is going to take this one at home.
Right, and then as much as Cincinnati, in my opinion, has looked slow the past few weeks, I think that Luke Fickell is a fantastic head coach, and I think that coming off of this week against Memphis, he has everything in his pocket that he needs to go out and pull the win. So I'm going to say Cincinnati is going to come out on top for the AAC Conference Championship this weekend.
Well, Brooklyn, it's time for us to settle down after an abbreviated no huddle.
And it's time for our final break of the year, but don't worry. When we get back, we're taking a look around the AAC before saying goodbye.
Welcome back to Inside the Nest. It was quite the year for football in the AAC, with 7 bowl-eligible teams, and the AAC will have a new champion come Saturday.
Yeah, Memphis is trying to win this game for the first time ever after falling short to UCF in each of the past 2 seasons. Let's take a look now at the final AAC standings. Cincinnati will represent the East after clinching the division with a 10-2 overall record, going 7-1 in conference play. And just behind the Bearcats are UCF and Temple, who finished 9-3 and 8-4 respectively. In the West, you see Memphis with just 1 loss on the year. That came against Temple. Finishing just behind the Tigers are the Midshipmen, who rallied to a 9-2 record to cap off their 2019 campaign. SMU ends with a 10-2 record. It has been a crowded contest all season long in the conference after another year of surprises, upsets, and excitement. And lest we forget UConn's departure from the American, and they'll head out without a single conference win on the year.
And as mentioned, the AAC championship game will be this Saturday. Cincinnati will travel to Memphis for the second consecutive week to take on the Tigers. Memphis defeated the Bearcats 34-24 last Friday. Memphis is favored to win by 10 at home, both teams playing for their first ever AAC championship. You can catch this one at 3:30 on ABC. And some individual national honors to go around. It was announced yesterday that center Matt Hennessy and defensive end Quincy Roche were announced as pro football-focused second-team All-Americans. The pair of redshirt juniors both had standout years, with Roche sitting 1 sack away from Temple's single-season record, and Hennessy continuing to be the backbone of the Owls' offensive line. PFF noticed, and both of these guys can now add the words All-American to their resumes. But it isn't all good news. Kenny Yeboah is out. That's right, the Owls starting tight end announced via Twitter on Monday that he will not be returning to Temple next year for his graduate season. A statement released by Yeboah said, quote, "After I graduate in December, I will be entering the transfer portal. To my teammates, there is no other team I would have wanted to be a part of over the last 3.5 years. I love each and every single one of you guys. We have been through so many changes, and we have built Temple football culture." Yeboah had 19 receptions for 233 yards and 5 touchdowns this season.
Well, it's hard to believe it, Dan, but the time has come for us to sign off for one final time. I want to say thank you to all the fans who've tuned in every week, to our entire crew that makes this show happen, whether it be our producers, to our incredible graphics team, our studio hands, and beyond. And of course, Dan, thank you for making every day in the office a fun one.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you as well. It certainly was a quick semester. Thank you to all the crew of reporters, Ray Dunn and Dom Gillespie. For the final time, this has been Inside the Nest. Have a great day, everybody.